Hello, hello, and welcome back to Corona with Lime. I'm Chris Godwin. That's Adam Levy.
Whoop.
Adam, how you doing today, bud?
Man, I am fantastic. I am so pumped to be back here with another episode. It was also a beautiful day outside today. I
It
don't know
was
if
a
you stepped out.
beautiful day outside today. We're finally getting some decent weather around here in the DC area. It's been raining like nonstop. It's been generally pretty gross, but the last couple over the weekend we had some nice weather.
Hmm?
Every little bit counts, right? At this point, just um, whatever we can do to kind of get through it. How was your weekend, Adam? We haven't been on the air for a week. What's your update? How's it going?
Everything was pretty good. Got a chance to go out today, spend a lot of money at the grocery store. It's so much fun getting those grocery store trips planned because that's like the only thing there is to do.
Yeah,
But honestly, it was a pretty low key, relaxed weekend. I took some time to catch up with some family, whom I haven't seen in a long time, and I miss them a lot. So
yeah,
just taking some time out to catch up. I think that's one of the things that this quarantine has shown a lot of us. Even though we're so distanced, that we still have the ability to get together via Zoom, via Skype, whatever service you want to name. But we have the ability to still connect, which is something that a lot of other generations couldn't say. When you were away from each other, I mean, there was a time period before phones, but when you had phones, I mean, you had just phones. And now we live in an era where we can actually still see each other face to face. It's like some kind of weird 80s movie.
yeah. It is kind of like a weird '80s movie, or Star Trek or something. Speaking of which, today is May 4th, Star
May
Wars
the
Day,
4th be with you. Oh my
and
gosh.
also with you. It's the high holy day for Star Wars nerds everywhere, and that's pretty exciting. And just the little things like that you can kind of hold on to and have fun with at this period of time is super important, more important maybe now than before. And there's plenty of that if you're in the Star Wars binging mood. Plenty of that on Disney Plus if you are that kind of person. If you're into that kind of thing. So we have a big show tonight. We have a lot of guests coming on and a lot to talk about. Tonight's show is about real estate, Adam. We're talking about real
Mhm.
estate, and for those wondering, like, wow, that's a kind of a random flex. Why? I mean, one of the things we like to highlight on the show are things that just are affecting people in profound and different ways because of the way we're all living through quarantine and sheltering in
Mhm.
place and things like that in the pandemic. So it's affected so many different things. Real estate is a big part of that, and we're going to get into that with some amazing guests in just a minute. But before we do that, as always, we like to start with the news,
Let's run some
um,
numbers.
which is a little rough. So we'll just
Mm.
dive right into that here. Yeah. So we were last on the air on Monday. That was the 27th. At the time, the total cases was 957, 875. Total deaths was 53,922. That was a week ago. It's been a little bit of a rough week, unfortunately. The total cases is now 1.1 million, 1,152,372. Total deaths 67,456, which is an increase of about 13,500, which is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, like I was just telling Adam before we started today that like getting these numbers gets like harder and harder as time has gone on. But worldwide, a week ago, those numbers were 3,059,273. Total deaths was 211,398. 368. Today, the world total 3,640,920 known cases of coronavirus. Total deaths 251,822.
So this is very much still a thing.
It is very much still a thing. So that's pretty intense. But moving on from that, tonight our big story is all about real estate. The real estate questions we're going to be asking tonight are, kind of on par with what we've been talking about before with other industries. First, we want to talk about the current state of the industry. We want to do a little bit about the buyer experience for people buying homes during the pandemic, the seller experience, people who are trying to move and sell their homes during the pandemic, and of course the changes ahead. Where is the industry going to go from here? What's the future look like? Where are we going? Pretty classic stuff. So as always, we like to start the show with a little bit of an overview of the numbers. What are we dealing with here? What's the scope? The sales of existing homes in the United States dropped 15.4% between February and March of this year to the lowest sales rate since 2013.
Oh, okay.
So it was this in March. We don't have April numbers yet, but in March of this year, it was 627,000 existing homes sold. New home sales, meaning homes that were just built and getting first-time owners, also dropped about 15%. 645,000 new homes were sold. And who are the people doing this buying and selling, Adam? That's the question that we're really going to be diving into tonight. There are 2 million working real estate agents. About 1.3 of those are members of the National Association of Realtors. Mm-hmm. There are 86,095 brokerage firms in the United States. In 2018, we don't have 2019 numbers yet, but in 2018, 5.34 million homes total sold. 5.34 million existing homes sold in 2018. 667,000 new homes sold, which is pretty wild.
And just to check, where are we pulling these numbers from?
These are all from the National Association of Realtors, NAR.
Perfect. So the reason the reason we're doing March numbers is they haven't released April's information yet on these websites, correct? Okay, correct. Perfect.
Yes. And our big number tonight, total housing units in the United States. Do you want to take a guess, Adam? Take a wild stab in the dark. How many homes are there in the United States total?
Let's say around 100 million.
100 million is a great guess. The total is 121.6 million homes total in the United States.
We're playing Price is Right rules. I was close.
That was
going over. I didn't go over.
Right rules. So tonight we're gonna be doing a deep dive into those numbers. And as you can see, like, this is the sort of thing that affects lots of people. I mean, like, for every one of those homes, like, how many people are moving? It's probably 2 or 3 people. So you're talking millions of people.
Yeah.
Who are buying homes every month in the United States. It is a huge sector of our economy. I decided to leave out the financial numbers off of this because we do a lot of, like, huge numbers, like billions of this, millions
of course.
I decided not to, because, like, this time I kind of want to talk about the people.
Yeah.
And the people, the real estate agents who are coming on tonight to talk about this, all have, you get, when you're a real estate agent, they'll tell you this, it is a very personal, very relationship that they have with their clients, both buyers and sellers. And it's intense. Both of us, Adam and I, are both homeowners. We've both gone through this experience. I just went through it. Adam, you went through it a couple of years ago. I went through it this past August. So we know some stuff about this. We've been buyers ourselves before. So Adam and I can be the buyers, asking questions of our real estate guests tonight. And if you have questions and you're watching about buying or selling a home right now is the time to ask. Get in the chat, ask some questions. We have some amazing guests tonight who will be able to answer those questions for you. It is a wild situation out there, and you're going to hear some of those stories tonight. So, Adam, I think we're about ready for our first guest. Unless there's something you want to add.
Yeah, just really quick. I have put it out there for people publicly to try to get some guests for the show who are in the process of buying and selling. And a little bit of the feedback I got, like it's a very personal time for a lot of people. Like a lot of people were supposed to be getting their home, but because of all this chaos, we're not able to go through with that. And then some people would like to sell their home, but obviously this is holding that up. So because of the nature of this industry, where there's a lot of money and things involved are tied directly with timing, is a really big part of it. It was hard for me to get anyone onto the show who is going through the process currently of trying to buy or sell a home in this universe. So with that being said, all the guests we have tonight are on the real estate side of things. But if anybody's in here in chat land and you have questions about it, if you were going through it, please feel free to post it, because this is absolutely what we're here for. Like, we're trying to get everybody's perspective on this. So yeah, just send us some messages. We'll bring it up with the real estate agents, and they'll give their stories. So without further ado, please, you may continue.
Without further ado, we have a gentleman coming in from California.
Oh, is that right? So I have an old friend of mine, Lewis. I'm really excited to have him on with us today. It's probably a lot sunnier over there currently than it is here right now. It's about 5:45. Lewis, you are on mute currently, but we can get that fixed for you.
Yep, you're good.
There it is. Lewis, how are you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. I was looking forward to it. Thanks so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with you right now. It's been a long time since we've caught up. We can do a brief catch up, and then we can get down to business if you'd like.
Yep, everything is going well. We're taking it day by day. In this situation, I think it's a little bit more hour by hour, but we're trying to stay optimistic and trying to be a source of information for any and all that are inquiring with us. So we're just taking it day by day.
For sure. Perfect. So you are still in San Diego, is that correct?
Yep. I've been selling full time for about 10 years now, if you can believe it. So
oh my gosh!
Wow.
Selling real estate. So
that's amazing.
And has it really been 10? Oh, it's been a really long time. It's been a long time since we've gotten a chance to catch up to. Like, oh my gosh. And who do you work with now, if you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'm with Willis Allen Real Estate. We're right here by beautiful Balboa Park, and beautiful. I've been with the company for many years. So it's a great organization and beautiful city, of course, to sell.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's get down to some of the stuff that you've been experiencing. Like, how has the quarantine and stuff affected you in you doing your business personally?
It has impacted every single aspect across all fronts. It has changed the way we go about the entire procedure, all the way down from the initial speaking to the client, looking at options, to the final step of the final purchase and closing on the home. Sure. But overall, it's the initial assessment of looking at options, and I think that's what a lot of people are doing right now. Is this has triggered a lot of activity, and people are setting their 3 and 6 month goals out. And in order to accomplish those, you need to start, planning accordingly. So, of course, across all fronts, it's definitely changed everything. The way we speak with the client initially, since we aren't meeting in person, we were deemed essential about 2 weeks into this whole process. So we were non-essential, and then we were deemed essential. So along with banking, mortgage, escrow, title, all the Sure. necessary aspects of the transaction, we were now part of that. So we were able to go out and work. That didn't mean that I wanted to run out and show a bunch of homes. To be honest, but
have you shown any homes physically since this has happened?
I have, yes. Of course, we have all the CDC guidelines and everything. We're taking procedure to our current listings that we have to inform the public, as with many guidelines, they're to protect all parties involved. So we have to protect ourselves, we have to protect the seller, and we have to protect the buyer. So we are trying to do as much as we can in terms of providing a safe environment for them to tour if they are willing to tour. That's also for the seller side, if they are willing to allow the public into their home. I think it makes a big difference if they're currently occupied and living there full time, or if it's a vacant property and they don't live within state or within that property.
It's funny. I didn't even think about that. Like that wasn't even something that was crossing my mind. I was thinking about, showing new homes, and the cleaning process of showing a new home is relatively simple. Follow guidelines, do a little bit more than what we used to do, make sure everything is covered head to toe. But I didn't even think about the fact that you could be showing properties that are still occupied, which means the person viewing the home has to wonder if the people who live there have taken every precaution to stay in and stay clean and stay safe, as well as the people who are showing the home have to make sure that the people who are going to be entering their home have done all the same processes. It's crazy that wasn't even a thought of mine, but I guess that probably complicates this entire process, because if people are trying to sell and they are now nervous about other people coming into their place, how does that slow the process, and what can they do to expedite it and speed it back up? Digital photos, I'm assuming, like maybe some other means, but that's crazy.
Exactly, yeah.
That's really crazy. I'm curious about the interactions that you're having with buyers and sellers. What do they say to you? I'm sure everyone has the same concerns, like, well, nobody wants to get sick, right? But like, what is in terms of the before and the after, what is the change in attitude towards things like scheduling open houses and like going to open houses from both the seller and the buyer's perspective? Like, how do you like massage those concerns? Like, what's your approach to individual clients on both sides of the deal?
Well, it's really hard. I think in this situation, and it might be indication of a larger issue, but there seems to be a lot of misinformation and mixed messages. So when someone says, okay, it's okay to go out there with these precautions set in place, and then we hear another hour that young people are affected as well as old people, people that are not showing symptoms. So now we have to retrace our steps from weeks ago that we might have met someone that was feeling fine and now is showing symptoms or sick. So I think that brought, as with many situations across all industries, a lot of fear. You have to look at the demographic of the people in the home, and then you also have to look at the demographic and age demographic more specifically with the buyer. If one is confident and they are feeling good about the process and taking precautions and overall feeling that it is very similar to going to the grocery store or the bank or any other errand, but you have a seller that is completely fearful of anyone coming into the home, it pretty much halts the entire process.
Right.
So you could have a buyer ready to go and a seller not ready to sell now. Or you could have a seller ready to sell and a buyer that's just not willing. And furthermore, the other necessary parts of the transaction, that the appraisers, lending institutions, everyone that might also have to go into the home, they're hesitant. So that might mean that the buyer and seller are all ready to go, and they're moving through the escrow period accordingly. And then the appraiser's not willing to go into the home.
Yeah, and any like when you sell or you buy a home, a lot of people get involved, right? And a lot of people are on the property. Inspectors come, and like all kinds of contractors come, and like people, and they touch stuff. They open doors. They like turn faucets on and off. They get into. There's a lot of contact, and and you just can't avoid that. It's impossible to do that. What is your and of course, I think it'd be reasonable to assume that the engagement for that would change over time. That people would say, oh, well, maybe I don't want to, you would see a drop off. People would say like, oh, maybe we're going to slow down the process a little bit. But how much of that have you seen? Is it like, whoa, this is like a crisis situation? Or is it like, well, we've had some drop off, but things are generally fine?
Well, I think it depends on the price point, and you will talk to several different colleagues, and you'll say, okay, at a certain price point, you'll see people waiting in line outside of the property, waiting for a turn to go in. So you have 15 to 20 people waiting in line that are waiting to go tour this home on one home. And so
gloves
that kind
and
of
masks and the whole bit.
Yep. And so they're doing, tours one at a time, exiting, then the new couple will enter in, tour, and exit. And they have to do one at a time versus an open house where you're allowing several people in at a time.
Right.
And then you see the different price points across the board. Here in Southern California, it's a little bit different than many parts of the country, but the luxury market, I think if the owners or sellers were affected by the stock market at all, I think that took a whole different kind of turn on how quickly they can do things. But the luxury market is sitting a little bit, obviously, that is a very niche buyer at that price point. Let's say 1.4 and above, and if they're affected financially by the stock market or anything outside of the immediate, real estate industry, then that would stop their process as well. But
yeah.
I like to tell people, if 20 to 30 calls per week came in before this, I have less than 5.
Wow. That sounds like a big drop off. I mean,
complete drop off.
Yeah. But I mean, but it seems like from the numbers that we were looking at earlier, there was I thought it was interesting that we saw a 15% drop in month over month sales between, nationwide between February and March, which is an interesting number. But it's not like I kind of expected a way bigger one. I kind of expected it to be like 50%.
I would say let's wait until the April numbers start coming out before you rule that, because remember the beginning of March, nothing was shut down yet. Like it wasn't until mid to late March, and even then it was only a few states. It wasn't even all the states. So I'd say
that's true, but the news had already come out. So by February, the virus was known. It was a known thing that was starting to escalate. And you're right, like, things didn't really start to shut down until mid March, but like it's still like a remarkably high number.
But it was a hoax, right? So nobody believed it, so it doesn't matter. So it didn't affect the market. I would say once we see April's numbers, you'll see a more realistic picture. I would assume a much larger drop off than a 15% drop. Lewis, before we mix things up a little bit and get some more guests on here, how is the market looking in San Diego? Would you say that, in your opinion, this is a good time to buy? Would you suggest that people wait until a lot of the chaos ends? I mean, just give me your thoughts.
I think it will be a lot easier to kind of assess everything once we have an idea of how long this will take. And that's the biggest variable we're dealing with. If we knew that towards the summertime or the fall, if we had some sort of end result to work towards, I think it would be much more effective. But right now, I think a lot of people are putting a pause on the entire situation if they can. Now, if you're, a large clientele base out here is military or medical field. So these numbers that are coming in, you also have to consider the people that were in a transaction that concluded the transaction right as the news broke, versus a lot of the buyers, the contingency on the loan is that you are employed. So anyone that was in that process and ready to close, and now you are not employed, that is a condition of the loan, and you've just lost your financing.
Yeah,
so
that was
although they were ready to go, the buyer is ready to go, the seller is ready to sell, and then the lending institution says, wait,
nope,
there's too much risk on this.
Yep. That's awful.
We were talking about banking and what it's going to be like moving forward, like the fact that a lot of people are going to need to apply for personal loans. And there's a lot of conditions that are going to have to be changed when it comes to qualifying for these loans, because the entire world went through this process. It isn't just like, oh, I'm a bum, I'm out of a job, I suck, blah, 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 blah. It's like, there's something serious going on. Maybe it's time for some overhaul and oversight. Maybe things can become a little bit more, how do I word this correctly? Like, I feel like a lot of these services have gone away from being
maybe it's the word to look for.
I would say a lot of things have
need to start coming out of the
gone away from being personalized, right? There's a blanket figure. Yeah, I'm sorry you don't have a job. I'm sorry, it's over. But maybe there will be that extra touch and care saying, okay, why did you not have a job? Oh, it's because of COVID-19. Oh, it's because of this. Like maybe some of these institutions will actually start bringing some of the care back into, our services that we deem so necessary in times of crisis. But
right. And you have to think about they're a business. And so they can only lend out a certain amount of what they are receiving.
Of course.
So the difference of this pandemic situation across all countries and states in the U.S. is that they're getting hit all at once. So now, the people that are not paying their mortgage currently, that's affecting the ability for the lending institution to lend out. So on top of it being harder to get a loan, they're not having any money coming in. So
Yeah.
they're constricting pretty hard right now just to try to mitigate their risk.
The downsides of living in a credit and debt society, for sure.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and this is, I mean, there was a lot of pressure in the press happening right now too about those finances. Like, all of our European allies in Canada, everybody, all those governments have set up a system where there are dollars now coming monthly out to all the families to make sure that their expenses are covered, their mortgages are being paid, their rent is being paid, and the U.S. hasn't really caught up to that yet. And I think if this goes on for 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 more months, I mean, there's not going to be much of a choice, or there's going to be 30 million homeless people at the end of the year, and that's a thing. So that's something that is worth considering as well. Your point about the lending companies, though, I remember that process of all the income needs to be verified, all that. That's a huge deal for the 30 million people who filed for unemployment in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's going to be an ongoing thing. We think we are ready to bring on our next guest.
Absolutely.
Coming at you from Maryland, we're going to bring on Josh.
Lewis, feel free to stay,
Thanks so
join.
much, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome to stay. You can ask questions. You're part of this process. If you need to go, feel free to drop off at any time. But you're welcome to join us.
Yeah, let's just have an
All right,
entire
thanks so much,
NAR
guys.
conference right now. Let's just they're not going to have one in person, so this year. So let's just
This
do it
is
right
the
here on
best
the
we can
show. Boom. Yeah,
Absolutely. Thanks, Lewis.
that's awesome.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Pratt. Josh,
How are you doing,
man?
Josh? Yay!
First off, let me say, Chris, you have a nice beard, but Adam has outdone you on this one.
Oh, he has. It is kind of amazing.
This is
and
my quarantine beard.
Hey, that is impressive.
it's Game of Thrones esque. Like
Somebody told me I looked like Tormund the other day, and I said that's all my life goal. Like that's all I wanted to do was look like a Game of Thrones character. Like that's it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't know who Tormund is, but if you were saying something from like Lord of the Rings, like the dude with the
Like
axe
Gimli.
or whatever.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
you're-
gosh.
right-
Pretty
right-
soon it's gonna be braided. I'll let you know when I braid my beard.
Then you'll have that under control.
Absolutely.
Exactly, ready to fight ice zombies with an axe. I always say. So, so Josh, we've been getting into the real estate thing. You're a pro in the real estate world. You know it well. You've been at it for a while. Give us a little bit of a background about how long you've been in the industry, and kind of what your situation is now with the buyers and the sellers that you're working with.
Man, loaded question there. So I've been in the industry about 5 years. I'm in my 5th year. It's just been such a wild ride. It's been abnormal. I feel like my experience has been pretty different from a lot of realtors. Probably like once a month at least, I'll get somebody reaching out to me saying, "Hey, like, want to get started in the business? What do you recommend?" Blah blah blah. And I'll tell them, "Look, like, it's a hard business. It's lower barrier to entry, but once you get in, it's just there's about 15 to 20% that are renewing their license 2 years later."
Oh.
So that's kind of the
Wow.
experience.
So there's a drop off.
For sure.
Pretty steep
For
one.
sure. What was that?
People get in, they probably hear, oh, it's big money, you can sell one house or pay for your month, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And then when they realize how much work actually gets involved, that's it. They're just dunzos.
Well, I wouldn't even say like the work that's involved. I mean, unless you're talking about the work of getting new clients, because that's
Sure.
the hardest part about the business is finding new clients.
Business development.
For
right.
sure.
And I bet business development has gotten a lot more complicated in an era where nobody wants to leave. Where in some cases people can't leave their house to
Sure.
like go and look at properties, or inspectors come over to look at things, or contractors come over to look at things. Right? There's like a lot of people in that pie that have to like come to the house.
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag of tricks. I mean, for anyone that's like looking to maybe buy in the near future, right now, well, let me go back, like rewind about a month ago, middle of March, pushing late March. It was, wow, we're already in May, but so middle of March when COVID really hit hard and everyone was kind of panicking, everything dropped by like 60-65% as far as showings, as far as pending transactions, closings, all that stuff kind of just came to a screeching halt. But now we're up to like about 70% of where we were the year prior, this time of year. So things are just, and what I attribute that to is like the more intentional, more motivated buyers are still going out, where the ones that may have made up that 100% of the year prior they're just electing to stay home because they're not, really all that serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the clients that you are working with? What are they saying to you? What are their concerns? How are they reacting to the news? I mean, obviously everyone's, reacting to this in different ways. Have you seen like a big is there like a lot of like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this? I mean, like sellers, like how motivated are sellers and buyers to like go through this process regardless right now? Like it's like Lewis was just telling us about how they're like doing socially distanced open houses where people will like wait outside and like wait for, are you seeing a lot of that in Maryland as well?
I mean, it's just a mixed bag. You've got some buyers that are like, hey, whatever, I'm not worried about this. Like, I'll mask up, I'll wear gloves, we'll go and do our thing, but they're not terribly worried about it. But then you've got others that are more concerned about it. And I've offered just today. I had somebody reach out to me asking if I would go walk a home and do like a virtual tour. And I've done that before. I've done that with some buyers actually that never even set foot in the home when we put a contract on it. I recorded something, sent it to them, and they were anyway. So you kind of get the idea. But
wow,
it's really interesting. I mean,
futures now.
I guess in this world, you're kind of that liaison, right? So if somebody puts a list of, a list of demands, no, like a list of things that they like and things that they want in a house. If you can check off like 90% off of that list, I'm assuming like, just like any other service industry, it's about the rapport that you build with your clients, right? And I'm assuming at that point, they're just like, you know what? You've probably found everything that we're looking for. You know what we're into. We trust you. Let's do this.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely depends because like those buyers that I was referring to that had never stepped foot in the home, I'd never met them face to face. They were living in Arizona. Oh. This was over the summer. I went and walked probably about 15 properties. And when we walked the property that, they ended up putting an offer in, I was like, I even said it, it's on video. I was like, guys, I think this is the home. And I just coached them through it. And, the biggest part for me as a realtor is just really trying to manage expectations. And for example, I've got an $850,000 listing in North Potomac right now. It came on Friday, and I had, some showings today, and I'm reaching out to each and every, agent that showed it. I'm saying, hey, what's your feedback? And, I got to give my client the good, bad, and the ugly, if they say, hey, we don't like this showed really poorly, or looks really good, we're going to put an offer. Like, I will tell him everything and anything, but I also don't want to, I guess, overhype something. If somebody says they're going to put in an offer, I'll tell them, hey, we are expecting an offer, but until it's in our hand, we're not going to get too hot and bothered about it.
Have you sold anything since this has been going on since mid-March? Like, has anything cleared and gone through?
So I've had a closing on March 31st. I'm plugging in my computer here. I had a closing on March 31st where I was the listing agent, and I actually brought on some of my buyers from my buyer pool.
Okay.
So in that situation in Maryland, the sellers, I'm sorry, you can't represent both parties. And so sorry, I'm just plugging in here.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of like two closings in one, if you will, even though my buyers were unrepresented. Mm-hmm. So March 31st, I had one. April 9th, I had like a 600,000 one in Newmarket. And then a week later, a 551 in Gaithersburg. And then I had one on Friday all the way in Severna Park in Anne Arundel County. So things are crazy. And then we put something under contract. I mean, yeah, I've got a lot of stuff going, like something else in, I'm just listing them off as let's see, where is it? Where is that one? Baltimore County. But it's been so crazy. Like, I've had some that we love the property. We did the home inspection, and then they backed out. Like, I had two properties back out on Saturday. And I'm coming at a place, and I'm not trying to brag or boast or anything. Like, I'm trying to come at it as a place of like abundance. I'm not really in a scarcity type mode. So if that happened to a regular agent, like if they're expecting these two deals to happen and the same day two of them back out, it's like, oh crap, like heaven.
That's my life.
Yeah.
there it goes. Okay.
Now it sounds like that does sound like a lot of crazy action happening, but it's probably less than usual, right? Like you've had like the lead count has been a little bit lower, like the closing rate's been maybe a little bit slower, but it sounds like you're still kind of like working through it. Like there's still action going on. You're still going to properties.
Yeah.
Buyers and sellers are still contacting you. There's still movement in the market.
Yeah, I mean, each agent is going to be very different because if you've got someone that's like a part-time realtor, they got their, I actually put an offer tonight for a property in Anne Arundel County as well. This one's in Glen Burnie. I'm waiting for my clients to sign it and I'll send it back to this guy. But he's like a part-time respiratory therapist. He's selling his own home. Um, so if you like, whether whoever's listening, I would highly recommend that they get on board with a realtor that has their hands in this every single day. That they are doing multiple transactions a year because it's ever changing in the real estate market where if you've got somebody that's a part-time respiratory therapist, no knock on them, but or part-time anything, it's just you want somebody that has their hands in it every day because it's like, are you going to go to a part-time doctor? No, like you want somebody that's a specialist in that mole that's on your back or whatever.
Right.
You want to go to the mole doctor, of course.
Sorry to throw you under the bus, Adam.
Nailed it. No, that's yeah, that's really true. It's fascinating to me, like how that process is going, because we were talking earlier with Lewis about business development, right? Like that whole like the process of like generating leads and like reaching out to people. The job of a real estate agent is so tactile and personal, and like going out to lunches. Like when we bought this house in August of last year. And we had an amazing realtor down here in Virginia in Reston, and she but I know, boo, I know. But she was amazing. She took us out, like we were going to lunches. There was like we toured together. She like made all kinds of time. I don't know. It was like superhuman. I know you're the same way with your clients, but like how do you do that without being able to do that in person? Like it's such like a personal one-to-one connection. You get so personal into like your personal lives and like what matters to you, like your values as humans, like those things matter when you're buying a house. How do you do that? How do you get to know people from afar?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's not always from afar. For example, like I'll just give you guys a brief little snippet of what my day looked like. Drove to Anne Arundel County, drove an hour out there to show this property in Glen Burnie. Then she's like, I like it. We're going to do it. And keep in mind, this is probably like the 15th house I've shown to her. Then, so I'm driving to a listing appointment at noon to, get this thing squared away with a $650,000 home in North Potomac. And we're going to sign papers tomorrow. Then from there, I'm running to Gaithersburg to start like one of 4 showings to a nurse. And that took us to Gaithersburg, Germantown, Damascus. So just a bonkers day. Came home, shoved food in my mouth, and like back on the computer, right? So things are, like you said, they're crazy right now, but I don't know that they would have been much crazier had COVID not popped up, to be honest. Just with the low inventory of homes and the great interest rates, it is a perfect storm. So
yeah, interest rates are great.
Are you noticing any issues in getting people through the full process amongst all this stuff?
I haven't, but just on this closing I had on Friday, you've got lenders that are reaching out to employers like the day of closing saying, hey, is Valerie still employed with you? Does she still hold X, Y, and Z position, making X, Y, and Z?
So are they making exceptions around furloughed employees for the fact that they can call the employer and the employer's like, yes, as soon as we return to business as usual?
So you're asking, are they making exceptions for furloughed employees?
Yeah, knowing that like if they can call the boss and the boss that's still there is like, yes, as soon as we return to business, this person will be back in our payroll, stuff like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but I mean, lenders are, to kind of put it this way, like their liquidation has just kind of come to a screeching halt because 6 weeks ago they could lend just fine and promise everything, but now when you've got all these borrowers that are already asking for a forbearance, then it gets tricky. So I mean, I work with a mortgage broker who reaches out to like 30 different lenders, And he said that some of his lenders are already dropping like flies. So
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's an interesting time for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's insane. Well, Josh, before we move on, I just want to check in with you. How's your family doing? How is everybody?
Ooh,
I
good
know
question.
you have been struggling with the virus in your family. Do you want to talk about that at all?
I mean, sure,
You don't have
sure.
to. No, you don't have to do a deep dive, but I know you've been struggling with
No,
it.
I'll
And it's
go
a
ahead and
thing.
give you guys a quick snippet. 2 weeks ago, my mom was diagnosed with or tested positive with COVID-19, and we were concerned about her. She's elderly. My dad, who's not in great health, obviously lives with her, and we were concerned about that situation. But then I had a brother, my brother Jeff. He was in the hospital, and they weren't sure if it was COVID. They presumed it was. One of his lungs was 100% full. The other
Oh
was
my
80%
gosh.
full, and
That's awful.
there was talk of ventilators. And for anyone that's watching that doesn't know, um, like if you get on a ventilator, it's pretty much it's not good. I mean, your chances of getting off, I'm hearing, are extremely low. I don't want to give a number because I don't want to, you know, give out false doctrine here, but
Right.
not good. But we've been very very blessed, and he to give you a nutshell version of it, 6 o'clock 2 weeks ago on this Tuesday night, whatever date that was, we had a massive prayer group with the church that we grew up in and each of the congregations that we're a part of. And then anyway, 2 hours later, he was on 15 liters of oxygen, and then 2 hours later, he was on 3 liters of oxygen, which is
Oh my gosh.
unheard of. So
Yeah.
Huge improvement.
it's like 15 liters of oxygen is the most, from what I'm hearing, that you can be on. So anyway, thanks for asking. But yeah, everyone's good, and it's definitely scary for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
hope
it
you
is.
guys are
Sure.
doing well. I appreciate you guys having me on here.
Absolutely.
I hate both of you though for not buying a home with me.
Sure. Heard. Okay.
Next
Understood.
time. There's always a next time, Josh. I'm sure
Yeah,
that if
that's
there's gonna be
right.
a next time, we'll come back to Maryland at some point.
Hey, I'm licensed in Virginia too, and DC.
Oh, you are licensed in Virginia. Oh, that's
Okay.
good to know.
All right.
That's a good to know. And anybody in the DC area looking for people? Hey, this is Josh Pratt.
Guys,
Josh,
appreciate you.
thanks, bro.
I
Good
think
to
I'll
see you.
hop off, but so good to see you guys. I know it's been forever, but you guys are
Yeah.
great. Wishing you guys all the best in your endeavor here. This is awesome. It's so
Like-
good to see you guys' faces.
Really quick
likewise,
before you
dude.
go,
Yeah.
I'm putting in an order for some cinnamon rolls. So.
Hey, you buy a house. Hey, you know what? Honestly, like it's never about the money. Let me tell you that. Like, I've got things are good. I'm not hurting. I don't want to say like I'm rolling in money, but I just love being able to help people, especially people that I haven't seen forever. And like, it's a major life decision. And the fact I just feel honored, when somebody's like, "Hey, Josh, like we're looking to buy our first home or sell." Like, I get borderline emotional when people are like, So my loyalty is like will always remain so strong to. I'm getting borderline emotional right now. Heck.
So
Yeah,
is
that's the whole
is that a no on the cinnamon rolls unless I buy a home from you?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll take care of you. I know you're in Montgomery Village, right?
Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, we were over. I actually showed a home there today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, next time, I know we can't really go out and grab lunch, but at some point, hopefully sometime soon, we can go out and.
Everybody's new side hustle is baking, man. So like, you can just like a whole side hustle, just like making cinnamon rolls, and
For sure.
a killing. So that's.
Oh my gosh, you should have seen him. He was streaming live the other day making cinnamon rolls. I was like, what is
Yeah.
this? What is this awesomeness?
No, I took a bunch of those cinnamon rolls down to Virginia to my client in Alexandria, and I mean all over to my clients but I only had like 55, so that's all I could do.
Gosh, only 55 cinnamon rolls.
Only 55 cinnamon rolls.
Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I know it's been too long since we've caught up, but we love you. We're glad you're doing well, and we appreciate you being here with us tonight.
Hey,
Thanks, man.
love you guys. Appreciate you, and if there's anything I can ever do, even outside of real estate, I'm happy to help.
For sure.
Man. Thank
Appreciate you.
Thanks for coming
All
on.
right.
Thank
Do
you.
well. Good luck to your family.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Cheers. And next coming up, we got a very interesting special guest, my good friend and next door neighbor, Julio. Julio, are you there? Can you hear us? You might be on mute. You're unmuted now, Julio.
Okay.
You can you hear us?
My video. Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
are. What's up, man? How you doing?
Great.
Julio is literally 100 feet from me that way right now. He's right there. And Julio is just an amazing human being, and incredible. He was kind of when my wife and I moved to the neighborhood in Reston, Virginia. We are now. He was the first to welcome us here. He and his wife are just spectacular people. Julio, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, of course. We're talking about your whole thing, man. So I can't wait to hear your thoughts about this. And we've had a couple of perspectives so far. We've heard from California and we've heard from Maryland. Now let's dive into Virginia a little bit. First of all, Julio, let's start with tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in the industry, and what is your experience now like for you?
So this is my 4th year in real estate. I'm in Virginia and DC, mostly Virginia, and it actually it has been my best year so far. Even though it now is weird for everybody, it's unexpected, it's really risky for many people. No one knows what's gonna happen next week. No one knows what's gonna happen in a month. So it's interesting, but I feel like people that still need to buy because their lease is up. Their lease is still up. Like that doesn't. I'm sure you can extend. I'm sure you can modify things, but like people that still need to sell, still need to sell. Those that still need to buy, still need to buy. So it's just, are you willing to take that risk and to go ahead and do it right now in the midst of this weird situation? So I feel like for some people it pays off, but it definitely, so like my last buyer that I closed maybe like a week ago, because of this, we were able to put an offer, and we had been in such a competitive market all the way from last spring. I think it never stopped, the spring market last year. And then we're coming to this weird time where like there's a lot of uncertainty. So like we put an offer and we're like, I thought it was too low. But I'm like, I'm always willing to try. I'll try my best, with every offer, and we'll, see. And they took it. So it's in a lower price range. It was like 340, 358 was the asking price. We offered 340, and they didn't even come back with a counter offer. They simply said, well, we'll take it. Like
Wow.
We don't know if maybe this is the best offer. Maybe next week it'll be lower. So they didn't even, I feel like if I was the listing agent, I would have definitely countered or like tried a little harder.
Yeah.
But the sellers were like, yeah, even though we don't kind of want to, we need to, and we'll take it. Like no questions asked.
Oh man,
that's amazing. I mean, that sounds like a buyer's market right there. And I mean, it sounds like you have a little bit of leverage because just like who else is going to buy a house right now, right? A little bit of that.
So that's the thing. So I don't think it's the same for everybody. So like because like it depends on the neighborhood. If it's the only house like within 5 miles that on that price range that is nice, you're not gonna have that situation. You're still gonna have multiple offers.
Sure.
So there are listings, like all the last listings that I had. So like the last listing that I closed was like at the beginning of April, but it went under contract like at the end of March. No, at the end of February, or March 1st, and went under contract. We still had multiple offers. We had 6 offers. We went 40,000 above asking price. But again, even at that time, it's not the same for every house. It's not the same for every neighborhood. If you have 5 houses similar to yours, you're not gonna get multiple offers unless yours is like super nice and like much better than all the others. On the other hand, like if there is nothing else in your market, whatever time is still a good time. Your house is decent. There's nothing else competing with you. You put it on the market tomorrow and it will sell tomorrow. So, it depends what you have to offer, what you're looking for and what you're selling. So it's definitely an interesting time.
It's definitely an interesting time. Now, so one of the things we've been asking Lewis and Josh about was about the experience of interacting with your buyers and sellers. Once, which was, like, and you can talk a little bit about this. Like, it is a tactile, personal, in-person thing. Like, it's meeting for lunch, it's meeting to take your clients around to open houses, it's, it's on the ground, it's moving, it's driving from place to place, it's out in the world. Suddenly that comes to an end. Suddenly it's like, nope, this is that your go-to mo is no longer available to you, and then you have to adapt. How have you adapted to this? Have you seen resistance or adoption by your buyers and sellers? Like, how has your methodology changed?
So I think it varies from person to person. And I feel like that's what we do every day anyway. We adjust to all kinds of different personalities, all kinds of different characters. Like, you don't treat everyone the same. So I feel like everyone has a different level of comfort with this. Some people are like, so maybe I shouldn't say it, but like, I had like, through the midst of this, we just closed already. But an 80-year-old man going to look at houses. And he's like, I don't believe in any of this. He doesn't watch the news. He's super fit. He's more fit than I am. And he exercises every day, like goes to the gym for 2 hours. And he's not wearing a mask. He's not wearing a glove. I'm like, you sanitize your hands. So I'm like keeping an eye on him. But like, we show up to see places. We're looking at condos, and there's like 20-year-olds with their agents, and everyone has like masks and gloves and glasses and like,
Yeah, it's the kids who are taking it seriously, and the older people aren't.
Like, so everyone is different. Some people are like, we just sanitize and wash their hands. Other people have like their full gear. And I was showing up with the 80-year-old, and he's like, I don't care. Like,
so, I think, isn't that amazing? I was just telling I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, about how it's like the role of like the teenager and the parent have now reversed. So now it's like the kids of like baby boomers who are now being like, now you need to stay at home, and you need to like stop with it. You need to wash your hands more, and you need to, you have to do like. And it's the kids who are admonishing, and the adults are like, whatever. Those are the ones, like all the protests that we're seeing in Michigan and California and elsewhere. Like, those the people who are going there are not kids; they are 50 plus, and that's amazing. You'd think it would be the other way around, but it's not.
And like, he doesn't drive. I mean, he drives. He has a nice car. He's challenged with technology, so he's like, I don't do the GPS. You come pick me up, and we'll go. So I'm still in my car, so I'm like, you sanitize before, when you get in, before we go, after we go. I'm like, I have to take care of you. You are at risk, like, and you care.
Yeah. And that's just like a normal, like, human, concern, right? And like, but like, and we were talking with Josh and Lewis before about how like the process of just like going to see houses, or especially condos in a building which has like a front door and an elevator with buttons and inner and outer doors, like everybody touches and opens. It's it's hard to do this process without being able to touch things. Not to mention, like, once you're inside the house, like, does the dishwasher work? Do the faucets work? Does this, like, how do you touch things? When we went, we were on the house buying thing last summer. It was like we walked in, we turned on the sinks, and we flushed the toilets, and we like opened the doors to the furnace, and we like looked into the. It was like a lot of like tactile touching, or like the banisters on a stairway.
Can I make a really weird point? Because this has been on my mind for a little bit, and I was trying to figure out how I would bring this up. But it's like, when I was going searching for my home, or I bought a condo. So when I was going condo hunting, like, there's something to be said about the smell of a building. Like, sometimes a house will have a smell, or a building. Yes, you can eventually get rid of that over time, but it's like the smell just kind of, it's off-putting. But now that you're wearing masks and stuff like that, you can't smell the place. You can't really, like, if
it's bad, you still smell.
I'm just trying to add an extra level, an extra layer to this. It's different now.
You're totally, Adam, you're exactly right. But that's like, the whole sensory experience is now changed. It's irrevocably changed. And like, I wonder, like, going forward into the future, how is that going to affect the way people assess homes? If you're a seller, Josh was just saying this a second ago, what if you have an open house? how do you make the decision? Like, am I going to open this to the public? God knows who's going to show up, and God
Right.
knows like just by like a vector factor, how much contact is going to come into your house, even if you maximize your precautions.
Correct. So what's happening, and every company is different, and like we're all independent contractors. So we're under umbrella of a brokerage, and your brokerage may have all these rules. At the end of the day, it's up to you, and like whether you want to do it. However, like my company, I'm with Coldwell Banker. They are like absolutely no open houses. They're out of the window, and nationwide, I believe, and like so we have extra addendums. So now every contract that we do, we're like they're available to us. We don't have to use them, but it's really good to us. So we have like a COVID-19 addendum, basically that protects both buyer and seller. If either one of them loses their job and the situation changes, they cannot close. So there's no penalty for anything. But then it's like very risky because you can receive whatever contract you want. Once you have that addendum, it can fall the day of closing, and you like wasted 6 weeks waiting for it to close. So it protects everybody, but we have that COVID-19 addendum. So we don't do open houses, and we're highly encouraged to do virtual showings for the most part. So there's like an addendum as well for like you're buying this house sight unseen. We've always had that addendum, but now it's like if you do everything virtually, we have to put that there just to cover our liability. And
so it's actually as a result of this, the contract language at closing has changed as a result, because
correct.
the experience of buying the home has changed. Therefore, the contract language has to change too.
Exactly. So there's additional addendums. Like, and honestly, that I'm not 100% comfortable with. Like, I will never buy a house without seeing the house. Like, there are so many things that you don't get from pictures and videos, just like the feel of it and like the feel of the neighborhood, like the foundation, like is it like cracking and falling apart? A lot of those things you don't get from pictures and videos. So
Yeah.
I think I was listening to Josh. Was he the last one?
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
I have done like videos for clients out of town, but I'm like, before you put an offer, I would love for you to see the house in person. And like I've had a client that now is some close friends, and the place was here, like down the street. So I'm like, you come and stay with me for the night. He was driving from New York, but I need you to see the house. Just for your peace of mind, for your wife's peace of mind, see the house in person. I don't have any problem to do everything virtually, and everything else can be done from the distance. But I think it's important, and I don't feel like 100% comfortable. Although there are situations that require it, I'm like, as much as possible, see the house in person, at least for a minute, before you put an offer, because you're gonna be stuck here for years.
Right. And it's not, you can't just be like, oh, and hope for the best, right? That would be terrible. It's just something you have to like deal with. Julio, would you stick around for a little bit? We have one more guest to bring on. You want to hang out for a little bit? We have one last guest, Adam, and she is something we've heard a lot from the men. Time to get some more perspective on this whole situation, ladies and gentlemen. I would love to introduce you to the one and only Vilas. Right, Vilas, how are you?
Hello, Vilas.
How are you?
Wonderful. How are you? Thank you for waiting. Thank you for coming on. Vilas, Julio, Vilas.
Hi, Julio.
So, Vilas, I don't know if you've been watching, but real quick, before we get into it, first of all, I just want to check in. How's everything going?
Good. And oh my God, I can't even, like, literally, I have been watching you. I have two screens. I've been watching you, and I've been working because, so it's just been funny listening to Louis and then Josh and Julio and the different perspectives. And like when Louis was talking, I'm like, yep, that's happening, yep. And then Josh came on, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. Josh actually showed a listing of mine today, so that's funny.
Oh, nice.
And,
small world.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I'm like, and then I'm working. I listed a property on Thursday. I got 2 offers, one on Saturday and one today. The one that offered on Saturday decided that they didn't want to wait till today, so they went and wrote another offer on a different property, and that got accepted.
Wow.
And so they backed out of my listing. And so I called the second one and I was like, so, hey, we're probably going to talk to you because, I have multiple offers, but, you're still here. Of course I didn't say that. And, and so, I said, go back to them and ask them what their best and final offer is. And so she just wrote me back like 2 minutes ago. They've decided to look at a different area. And I'm like, oh my God. So this is
I
like
can see Julio smiling, thinking like, I had that conversation before.
In the last hour.
Virginia.
So you go from a listing perspective and you're like, yeah, it's a little bit of a buyer's market, but it sort of isn't. It's a seller's market because this is the spring. And I put a house on the market and like we're off to the races. And then at the same time, is this a buyer's market? Is this a seller's market? Is the world ending? Is everything okay? Are you wearing a mask? Not wearing a mask? Is everything okay? Television looks, everything's fine. I don't know what you're talking about. And then, oh my God. So it's completely insane out there. It really is.
It is. It's
no telling.
So what are your thoughts? So we've been asking about the process of like, working with buyers and sellers, that tactical or the tactile in-person relationships, right? Like the going to houses and like, opening doors and like going through and like touching all the things in a home, like the open house experience. What have you seen in that regard?
So from a buyer's perspective, we go into a property, we wear masks, gloves, wear shoe covers. I just bought a whole, they just arrived, a whole bunch of shoe covers that I leave at properties anyway, even under normal circumstances. And I ask people to leave the property as they found it. The two that I have listed are vacant. So that's a little bit easier because the person isn't living there. And
those have got to be especially awkward.
Well, I do have one coming on this weekend. She's living there and she's going to have to leave every time there's a showing and she's going to have to come home and wipe it down. And, it is what it is. I don't know. But this was her time to sell and she put it off. We were supposed to list early in March and she called me. She's like, let's wait a little bit. So then mid-April, she's like, all right, let's get back to this. So now we're back on and, it's been a rocky road. And I mean, I'm doing all of the extra marketing that I can. We do videos. I usually do videos on larger homes because it's just hard to show them in a few photos. But now I'm just like, let's just do the video on all the homes. I always hire professional photos and videography. But
I was watching one of them the other day. It looks like they do the drone fly through where they like get all the nice. Julio, do you do that as well? Do you get like the photographers and the video guys that come and fly the drones around the house?
It depends on the property. So I guess we used to do those additional things. I mean, depending on the property. You have a $200 condo. You don't do that. You do like
right.
You always do professional.
A little overkill to go the full drone, but
I feel like now you have to do the three,
exactly
at least the Matterport. You have to do that.
Matterport, yep.
So that people can do like a tour of the house.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like before, if you have a $200 condo, you get 30 photos and you're good. But now it doesn't matter. You have to do the video because not a lot of people are going out and looking, and prices are going to be affected too. Because think about it. If the objective when you list a property is to maximize your buyer pool by making it as appealing as possible to the most amount of people. And in order to do that, you want to make it attractive in every way. Now, half the population of buyers is worried about leaving the house. So they're like, let's wait. Well, we're not in a hurry. It's fine. We can extend our lease. We don't even have to pay our rent. It's fine. And so
the market incentive has been released a little bit.
We're not that worried about it anymore. So now you have to make it more attractive with the price, with the marketing, photos, video. You have to do more. I mean, the bottom line is it's still the spring market, and there are still people who are like, I want to move. I have building in Baltimore, and tenants who just moved in on April 30th. They're teachers and are renting one of the apartments in the building. And she's like, well, I guess school's out for the year, so I can move now. Originally, she needed to move in the after the school year ended, and she's like, I'm good, I'm free. So they ended up moving early, and she still has a job. She's still employed, which was a big thing. That was something Josh talked about, was verification at the last minute. And the thing is, what's happening is some people are not allowed to work remotely. So if they're still required to go into work and they choose not to, they're allowed to leave their job. That's fine. People are like, fine, you don't have to put your life at risk. You can leave your job. But now everybody's short-staffed. So the people that are working, or even the people that are working remotely with limited resources, limited technology, like I'm just at home trying to make this work. So getting verifications and getting, I'll send a lender something, hey, can I get this, verification? Can I get this approval? Can I do this? And 2 days later, I'll get a response. It's just because every single system is overwhelmed. There's nobody in offices checking things off. There isn't a reception answering the phone. Like nothing is normal and nothing is as it should be. So everything is just working slower and harder, and everyone is unsure. But it's interesting because this evening I had a buyer consultation appointment, which out of nowhere, a friend said, hey, I'm thinking about buying a house. Can we talk? And so they came over and we did a buyer consultation, which is usually about 2.5 hours, and discuss the whole process. And it just, I don't know if I would buy right now. I tend to, whatever you're doing, I'm going to do. If you're going to wear a mask, I'm going to wear a mask. I mean, if I'm going to show a property, I'm going to wear a mask. Yes. But they came in, this is my home office. They came in and were here. And none of us were wearing a mask. And I was like, do you want me to wear a mask? Do you want to wear, I have masks, I have gloves. And they're like, I mean, I'm fine if you're fine. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be responsible for making you sick. I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about you, because that's what masks are for. I'm going to wear a mask to protect you from me.
Did you proceed to cough?
I sneezed, and then I was like, okay. Corona. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Corona.
So I mean, I don't know what to do. So the other thing is, something so interesting happened this afternoon, right before those people showed up. And I do a lot of business out of my house. Y'all know I'm just, open door. But a friend of mine had a baby on March 4th. And so I went to the hospital to see her. And I have another friend she's a doctor. And I was on the phone with her just randomly. And I was like, do you think it's selfish of me to go see this baby? Because, they're talking about this pandemic. And she's like, are you sick? And I was like, no, I'm fine. She says, go see the baby. And I was like, okay. So I went to the hospital. I did all the things. I washed my hands. I held the baby. And this was on March 4th. And it's been 2 months and I haven't seen this baby. And they came and stopped by. And I do a lot of business with the baby's daddy. And so he walks in holding the baby and hands me the baby. And I looked at the mom and I was like, am I allowed to hold the baby? What's happening right now? Is this okay? Is this okay? And she's like, I mean, he's giving me the baby. And I'm like holding the baby and I'm panicking. Like, I do not want to be the reason. Like, I don't know who I've seen, who I've talked to. I mean, I'm still working. And so even though I'm careful when I'm out there, who knows? And then she's like, this is the first time we've been out of the house and you are the first people we're seeing. So I was just like, Jesus, I can't be the first person you see. You're going to know that I'm patient 0. Damn it, go see other people. I don't want to be it. but it's very bizarre because she's like, yeah, we just have to get used to this new normal. And I'm like, you're standing in my house with no personal protection equipment handing me your baby. What do you mean normal?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, some people have different reactions to it. Some people go over the top and they're like, "Oh my god, mask, gloves, hazmat suit, whatever." And then there's some people who are just like, "Hold my baby," and there's like everything in between, right? So,
But see, I just defer to the other person, and then I remember that I'm supposed to be responsible for them by wearing a mask, and I'm like, wait, I'm not. Why do I? I don't want to be the responsible party. That's not good for me.
that sounds like a lot of work.
It's a lot. It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, I find that fascinating, and it's amazing how people have adapted to it, and it sounds like Julio and Velas, you both have kind of adapted your practice, if you will, to kind of like dealing with that situation. Like, it's because it is sort of like like Velas, you were saying, like, you kind of want to follow the lead, you mirror what what your client is doing, because you don't want to. It's sort of like how do you dress when you go to a party, right? You don't want to overdress when you go to the party. You don't want to underdress. You kind of want to nail it. So you want to mirror kind of what the vibe is. It's kind of like that with the PPE too, right? So it's like if you show up and you're the only one in a mask and gloves, everyone's going to be like, right, and vice versa. So yeah, I mean, it's tricky, and I think it's fascinating and amazing that you guys are doing what you're doing, and you're doing it so well, and you're surviving and making it happen and making the dreams come true. Anyway, despite all this.
This is actually our life. We are dream makers.
Oh my God, yeah. I'm here broadcasting to you live from my dream home. Adam is as well, and it is no small feat. And just having gone through all that process, as you know, Velas, it is no small feat. It is a lot of work, and it's full court press in person, and it is amazing that there's a way to adapt to it and survive. And I just think it's fascinating. And because as we saw in the numbers at the top, the life goes on, right? People are still buying houses. They still have to move. They get jobs elsewhere. They have to like relocate across country. They have, or they have kids and they need to get a bigger space. This, like, life does not stop for any of this. So like, it just like, things go on. And I think it's amazing, that you guys have been so successful and are still going at it, because I could see like obviously like so much harder, like everything's like a little bit harder and a little bit more work on top of what was already hard and a lot of work.
So I have to say, this is what we do every day. Like, the life of the real estate agent, just like you experienced tonight, it's a roller coaster. Like, you can go from like, I just sold this place to it just fell through to like, maybe I have another one. Now I just lost this one too. Like, I thought I was gonna make all this money this month, and like everything just disappeared. Like, that's like a normal. That's why you're drinking. Like, you are taught to, like, you have to adapt, improvise, and overcome. Like, and I feel like those who thrive in this business are like those who adapt to every situation. Like, things change all the time, and like our life has always been that way. Now it's just like an extra layer of weirdness, I think.
Yeah.
But things are still a roller coaster, and they've always been. Like, my wife always said, like, I could never do what you do. Like, I need like a nice routine, and I know what's gonna happen. But like, yours is like, I'm excited, I'm devastated.
The ups and downs. It's manic, right? It's high highs and low lows. That's amazing. Well, I want to thank both of you guys for coming tonight, and we're not wrapping up quite yet. Before, at the end of the show, as we are wont to do, we have this really great video to show. As kind of our finale. I just want to give a content warning real quick. It makes quite liberal use of a lot of profanity. So if you have young children nearby or listening, or are profanity sensitive,
lock them in a closet.
We would recommend that you may want to turn down the volume or put on headphones this time. So, and in a couple of minutes, we're going to start that. But as we're winding down, I just want to give Julio and Velas if there's anything last words you want to share with our audience, and then Adam, I'll check in with you, and then we'll sign off. Julio, you first.
They're not going to die, so maybe not make them...
Last words? Sorry. Parting thoughts.
Parting thoughts.
Poor choice of words. Parting
Your
thoughts.
last words, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm fine. Julio, you were saying. Sorry.
No, I will just say like every situation is different. So just talk to your trusted realtor and get the feedback because we look at the overall picture, not just like this is not the best time for everybody to sell. It's not the best time for everyone to buy. Every situation is different. So just talk to someone to take a look at your overall picture and like be like, okay, maybe just take this time to improve your house and do improvements, or take this time to improve your credit because now there are some stricter requirements and different things that you could do if you are not in a hurry to do buy or sell. That's
Yeah.
it.
Well said. Velas, any parting thoughts?
You know, I was a proponent of wearing masks before it was a popular thing, I might say. But I do want to say that it may be unpopular also for me to say this is going to end at some point and possibly very soon. Because the objective is to gain herd immunity, which means we all need to get out there and get on with our lives on a certain level. I'm not saying everybody go French kiss. That's not what I'm saying.
Although that would be interesting to watch.
But at some point soon, what? Julio, Virginia's opening? Adam.
Yeah.
Chris.
May
Depends
15th.
who you ask.
May 15th, the governor said that they want to reopen Virginia around May 15th.
2 weeks. If Virginia opens, it's not different than if Maryland or DC opens. I'm just going to
We're all the same. It's all the same thing.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
I'm just going to come meet you out. It doesn't,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense. So what I'm saying is if somebody's opening near us, we're all open. And so we need to figure out a way to pivot. Those who are immunocompromised need to stay home, and those who are not need to figure out how they're going to go on and get out there and do the work. I think this is close to over, and we may be seeing this soon. Yeah, I'm just saying, like at some point they're gonna. We don't have the best leadership. I don't know. Is that an unpopular thing to say? We don't have the best leadership in this country, and we have to look at what other people are doing and figure out how to move forward. We can't really rely on that guy. So, we need to figure out what the best choice is for ourselves. We can't just say, Trump said it's okay to open up. We have to go, all right, is it okay for me to go outside or not? Should I be wearing a mask or not? Should I be, kissing that person or not? These are questions we have to ask each other ourselves every day. And, that's really the bottom line, is to make smart decisions, make informed, smart decisions for yourself before you leave your house. It's not about scare tactics. It's not about a hoax. It's not about, what he said and what, it doesn't matter. Figure out what's right for you and do that. And it has to do with real estate. It has to, you just said it, Julio. You're like, maybe this is the time for you to improve your credit or improve your house. You have to make the right decision for yourself. And this includes,
I think to kind of piggyback off what you're saying, you have to make the right decisions for yourself, but I think there has to be some level of care and understanding of other people in that decision-making process. I feel like there are way too many people that are making decisions just for themselves because all they care about is themselves. And when they go out and they affect other people, because for me, the best decision is to go out without a mask. I don't care if I have symptoms or not. And then they go out and they infect, 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 other people that then affect other people. I think the thing is to make smart and informed decisions and understand that it's not just you out there. Like, you have to make a decision that works for you in the context of the fact that we live amongst our peers, we live amongst our family, we live amongst our brothers and sisters from other parents. Like we are all on the same team here, and I feel like a lot of people don't like the teamwork side of things. A lot of these other countries that have been successful, it was a lot that had to do with a lot of the leadership stuff in a lot of these countries. I'd say one thing that makes that makes us Americans, and this might not be a public. Like we're a stubborn group of people. We like doing things our way. We've always done things our way. When we left Britain because we didn't like the way that Britain was doing things, they showed up here in the United States so we could make our own land of things and do things the way we want to do them because we're Americans and we're defiant. Well, that's all well and good, but when it comes to social disturbances, like things like a large pandemic, other countries are like, hey, you guys need to be on lockdown. We're starting this now. It's going to happen through 1 month. Everyone's like, oh, okay. Like, and then they just go, they end it, and then they come out, and everybody is much stronger. I was talking to a friend who lives in South Korea right now. He's like, yeah, I'm about to go out to a party. He's like, oh, I just ordered some food. Everything is great. Ha ha ha. He's like, oh yeah, we don't have any new cases because we did things the way we want. And I don't even think that they had a complete full lockdown. I think they did a lot of, it was like herd immunity lockdown. When there were people with cases, they were removed out of the group and they were placed somewhere for an extended period of time. The difference was they had rules, they established them, and they followed them, and then it was over. And that's how that works.
They had aggressive contact tracing too. So it was like if you, like, oh, you're sick. Who are all the people that you have spoken to or been in contact with over the last X number of days? Oh, these people. Okay, we'll go to them, get them tested, get them treated, get them treated.
You know, one of the joys of having a much smaller country, obviously that's a lot easier than for us here in the States. But that's the thing, and exactly what you were talking about in the world of real estate, you have to be able to adapt to different situations. And for the fact that we are so big as a country, it's really hard to adapt to a lot of things. And I feel like we've kind of missed the ball on a lot of that adaptation, which is why we're so far behind the curve. I mean, we make up a third of the world's total cases, I think, and we have the majority of deaths. That's not because we're a third of the world's whole population. Yes, we're a big country, but we're not a third of it. Like that's anyway.
That is as Velas said, that is a leadership failure.
Well, and this is the point. I agree 100%, Adam. A friend of mine said to me the other day, "Oh, a mask isn't going to protect you." I said, "No, the mask isn't to protect me. The mask is to protect you from me."
Yeah, right, from me.
Get it? Like it's for me to not spit on you.
Yeah.
Somebody posted something. It was so funny. Is it
the pee meme?
The pee in the pants? Yeah.
It is excellent. It's an excellent meme for if you haven't heard it. If you haven't heard it, it's basically
I'm trying not to pee on you. That's all.
Right. It's like if you have two people, right? They're naked. If somebody decides to pee on you, there's nothing between you and the pee, right? You're gonna get wet. If you're wearing pants, at least there's something like it's you're gonna get a little wet, but not as much. But if they're wearing pants, their pants are going to get wet and you won't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's all the analogy you need, and it is 100%.
That's what coronavirus is all about. Don't pee on anybody with your face.
If you have any takeaway from today's show, don't pee on anyone.
Don't pee on people.
Please.
But to your point, Adam, it is about the other person, and our society is not used to thinking about the other person. Our society wants to know what's in it for me. So why do I have to wear a mask? To protect you? So what's in it for me? Well, if they're protected, you're protected, you idiot. So I don't know. It's really hard for Americans to understand this. It is a little bit communistic, like to care about other people and to share, it's just a very crazy.
It's also very, for the religiously inclined, is also just very, it's righteous to care about the well-being of others, and I think anybody of any religious inclination would be able to agree with that. And if you have just if you're not religious and you are just a person who likes other people, it's good too. So I think all around, I think it's just a good habits, and I think it's great that there are people out there who are still out in the world, going and like interacting with the rest of the world, and like have to get out there and do that, like you guys, and like making an effort, because I think that's like just like a little bit of effort goes a long way, and we've seen that now over and over again in the areas where they've been successful with it and have been less than successful with it. When we make a little bit of an effort to protect each other, everybody wins. So Julio and Velas, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This was a fascinating conversation, a conversation that will continue. Adam, any final thoughts before we go?
You know what? Honestly, just thank you guys for being on the show today. This is something that has started because of COVID-19. Like Chris and I have talked about doing these shows for a long time, but because of this, we were able to come together. We have the time and the means to be able to accomplish things like this. And each episode feels more and more special to me as we go on, and just being able to have you guys on the show, sharing your experiences. Like, we had people from all across the country on the show today. We're all here from, different places, but we're all going through the same thing. And this is going back to what we were just saying, like, we're all on the same team. We're all living together, we're all suffering together, we're all grieving together, and we're all living together. Like, that's it. So thank you again for being a part of this show and this program, and hopefully we'll get a chance to reconvene when this is all over.
Yes, hopefully very soon. So I want both of you guys in my backyard partying before this year is over. Please. Thank you everybody for watching at home. This is Corona with Lime, Mondays, Thursdays, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. That's Adam Levy. I'm Chris Godwin. Thank you so much for watching. Without further ado, here is a very explicit but very funny video for you to enjoy. So
thank you guys. Love you.
Thank you. No, I didn't want to do that.
The whole world's caught a virus. You're not in this alone, but you can help to cure it. Just stay the fuck at home.
We're all stuck here in quarantine. It's like the Twilight Zone. To save the world, you only have to stay the fuck at home. Stay the fuck at home. Stay the fuck at home.
Don't you be a fucking dick.
Stay the fuck at home.
If you're locked down with your hubby or going in alone, sisters need to teach their men, stay the fuck at home.
Whether you've got 12 kids or you're living on your own, shut it down and isolate. Stay the fuck at home. Stay the fuck at home. Stay the fuck at home.
Watch Netflix in your underwear.
Just stay the fuck at home.
But I need the gym and I need the beach. We hear you bitch and moan. You need to grow a brain cell and stay the fuck at home.
But I feel fine, I don't feel sick. I'll go out on my own. I think of you, you selfish prick. Just stay the fuck at home.
Stay the fuck at home. Stay the fuck at home.
Sit on the couch and do fuck all.
Just stay the fuck at home.
If you think you're not at risk, you're living in a dome. Spreads faster than a hooker's leg, so stay the fuck at home.
To the doctors and the truckies, those who put food on our plate, you keep the whole place running so we can isolate.
Stay the fuck at home. Stay the fuck at home.
You can be a hero too.
Stay the fuck at home.
The only way to slow it down is isolate, not roam. Help the world get back on track and stay the fuck at home.
Sit on the couch and drink VV, get shit-faced on your own. We don't care what you're doing there, just stay the fuck at home.
If you need to contact family, use Facebook, Skype, or phone. Yeah, we've got the fucking internet, so stay the fuck at home.
From LA through to Berlin, from Wuhan through to Rome, there's people dying every day. Please stay the fuck at home.
Stay the fuck at home. Stay the fuck at home.
Don't you be a fucking dick.
Stay the fuck at home. Stay the fuck at home. Stay the fuck at home.
Don't you be a fucking dick.
Stay the fuck at home. stay the fuck at home.